Hey, so today we are watching the sequel to the Final Fantasy History Heavensward area, which is actually pretty great. I am looking forward to watching it. The last one we watched was really informative about just the history of the mechanics in the game and how they developed through the years, which is honestly really cool to me because I never got to experience it. So yeah, let's see what our good friend Larry Sor has to say. By the way, always like YouTube videos. If you don't, you're cringe.
Hello there, my name is Larry, and I'm
Hi,
going to
Larry.
teach you all about the history of Final Fantasy XIV again. So you guys know about the Rising event going on right now. They do this every year to celebrate the anniversary of Final Fantasy XIV, and actually this person right here is Minfilia. Yeah, that's 1.0 Minfilia. Yeah, now she doesn't even talk. Yeah. She just sells us wine now. Thanks, Minfilia.
No. That feels cruel. They just took 1.0 Minfilia's model and stuck her in the game. it's so good.
And my favorite version of this event, they had us go onto the floor of the Square Enix office that was the development room for Final Fantasy XIV. So Yoshi P was there, all of the developers had their characters there in this like fictional floor of the Square Enix building. And yeah, they would all talk to us and tell us about the jobs that they do at the Square Enix office.
It's the dude.
And actually, that's where they teased Red Mage and Blue Mage at the time, because neither of those...
Okay, I'm sorry. This is probably the best thing I've ever seen. Look at this guy's face over here.
Actually, that's where they teased Red Mage and Blue Mage at the time.
What is this? What is Duck Lips Thumbs Up Head Bob?
Because
Best
neither
character.
of those were in the game yet. You know this place, right? Idleshire? Yeah, it didn't always look like this. This was the endgame zone back in Heavensward.
So there's more than 2.0 Minfilia? Damn! I would say put her in the dirt, but she is dead.
And this was where everybody would hang out, and they would show off all their cool gear. Throughout all the patches in Heavensward, they slowly built this place up. Like, this was not a building. This used to be just tents out here. There was no roof, no ceiling. There was no rooms like this. This is all new. And good thing that I'm a genius, because I recorded some of this footage back in the day to see what the changes would be like. There was this really popular one, the hanging guy. During construction, there was this construction worker that would be hanging around somewhere for his dear life, and they would change where he was every patch, right?
That's
Until
really
eventually
great.
when the construction was completed and they finally gave him a rest. And
Poor
here
dude.
he is. This is him. That's the hanging guy. This video is sponsored by World Flipper. Link in the
World
description
Flipper.
below. Flip your way into exciting and mysterious worlds, teaming up with brave and exotic heroes to fight the forces of evil together. An epic pinball adventure awaits.
Did that remind you all of like the Digivolve
Heroes
scene?
to fight the forces of evil
Like this reminds me of like the Digivolve, the beam hitting the Digidevice and doing the Digivolve scene.
together. An epic pinball adventure awaits. That's right, World Flipper is a pinball action game with RPG elements for mobile, featuring retro 2D style pixel
Okay,
graphics.
we need
Players choose a
to
character
think of a
aligned with
way
one
to
of
get
6
waifus.
elements.
People want to buy waifus. Oh god, Breath of the Wild. Oh wait, no, Genshin already did that. Pinball? Pac-Man?
And each of them have special skills. The gameplay is super unique as it takes all the fun, reaction-based precision of pinball and combines it with various RPG mechanics. You can play with up to 2 of your friends in co-op
Epic
boss battles
pinball
and take
action.
down powerful raid bosses together. And it was actually published by
How
Kakao
do you-
Games and developed
how do
by
you
Side
take- it's a
Games.
pinball
So if
game.
World Flipper looks interesting to you, go pre-register in the link in the description below.
Well, hey,
and
I'm
you'll
sold.
receive
Thanks for the ad
in-game
read.
rewards, including the powerful 4-star unit Arisa and the in-game currency Lodestar Beads. And now back to the video. One of the things that
Oh wait, tag your waifu.
Arisa and the in-game
One
currency
second, we
Lodestar
have to make sure to
Beads.
tag our
And now
waifu. Man. Ooh. Waifu here, spiky teeth fire girl. I've chosen waifu. Chat, choose your waifu. Pinball raid bosses, the most dangerous kind of raid bosses, Shofan.
back to the video. One of the things that I miss the most in Final Fantasy XIV are some of the really cool skills that we used to have. For instance, Bard had this AoE called Rain of Death, and
That's
it just
pretty cool.
looked really cool. You would do a backflip and rain arrows from above in death. And Dragoons! Oh man, they had a pole dance. It was great. What
They
a
took
good
away your
AoE.
pole dance.
That's the one that everybody misses and is always asking for to come back.
They took away
But
your pole dance.
Now we just have these guys. It's just not the same. And don't even get me started on Shadow Flare. I still keep it on my bar to remember it.
Gotta say though,
on Shadow Flare. Have these.
This was probably one of my most disappointing scenes in Shadowbringers. They had me get up on the catwalk on one of these things and told me to dance. I was like, I'm gonna have a pole dancing scene, and then you just had to like / dance. Oh, they could have done so much.
Guys,
I want my Twinkie Catboy to dance.
it's just
Goddammit!
not the same. Don't even get me started on Shadow Flare.
They have pole dance
Still
back
keep
again.
it on my bar to remember.
Thank God.
It. Can I talk about glitches? Is that okay? In the beginning of Stormblood, when summoners first got Bahamut, we figured out a way to keep Bahamut out forever. But yet, naturally, I decided to make a music video about it. It's very good. One of my best things I've ever made. There was also this really good glitch where you could spin with your monkey. Very Mary made this video.
This feels like a meme that you put like monkey spin bottom text, and we get a million upvotes by the low random community.
Yeah, Diadem, this content does not exist in the game anymore. This is actually one of the rare cases in Final Fantasy XIV history where there's content that you cannot play. Well,
this is the most cluttered screen I've ever seen.
This was introduced in Heavensward and was one of the first like exploration style contents where they wanted you to fly around these different floating islands and farm things to get materials. Like, it would drop random gear. It was pink gear, and the stats on them were randomized. So you could get like a chess piece with like...
I hate these guys. Look at their little grubby hands. Look at their little fingers. They're horrible. Not to mention their disgusting no necks, their buggy eyes. They're horrible.
Stats maxed out, like crit, direct hit. Well, direct hit didn't exist at the time, but crit, determination, spell speed, all maxed out. But what it escalated to was everybody would just sit around on what we called Dino Island, and we would just kill dinosaurs for hours on end until Littlefoot's mom appeared, and then we would kill Littlefoot's mom.
No,
rather, Littlefoot's mom
stars.
would kill us with a meteor attack. But eventually we might get her down. And then they introduced this like crazy huge man raid on it. And it was rare for it to spawn in the first place. Like, I only did it twice and I only was able to beat it the one time. But this thing would drop one weapon. One person out of the entire 120 whatever it was instance would get it, and it had random stats.
What a
and
bad
it was
mechanic.
better than the raid weapon. So everybody at the time was screaming bloody murder that this was gonna ruin Final Fantasy XIV. The game would be irreparable, and everybody would quit the game. Obviously, it turned out fine, and nobody cared. Do you even know what this weapon was? No,
then.
You probably don't. Have you ever even seen one?
Hey guys, this is the secret. I've secretly been playing this game since the beginning, but I quit at this point. You done hunts before? There's usually like 200 people trying to kill the S ranks, and there's so many people that people are invisible until you get closer. Holy moly. Especially all the mounts and minions from there are dinos. Hey, that does make sense, Sprunkles.
No, because it didn't matter. But yeah, that was a fun time. I actually really liked Diadem. But then again, I like the really grindy stuff in MMOs, so I have something wrong with me.
grinding.
I'm going to talk about some class stuff now. Back in Heavensward, Bard and Machinist were casters. Yeah, they would go into a special DPS mode where they did more damage if they casted their spells.
What the?
I mean, casted their arrows and gunshots. Some people liked it. Those people need some help. And I talked about the cross-class system in the last video, but honestly, there's some really interesting things to go on about that. Like with Warrior.
Wait, Diadem is crafting now? It used to be all combat, and now it's a crafting thing. That's wild.
Now they have nascent flash.
Wait, sometimes the S-rank hunt is also invisible because there's too many people? Holy shit, Kumono.
Which is an ability to heal themselves for damage that they do. But they didn't always have this, and it's still locked behind level 76. Well, back in A Realm Reborn, Warrior had Bloodbath. Warriors loved this. It was their bread and butter and would basically sustain them in all dungeon pulls. They wouldn't need a healer. But in Stormblood, they removed it, and Warriors were very sad about that because now they needed a healer to heal them, and that was just no good. Something really funny with the cross-class system. When you took off your job stone and you just became, instead of like the job, the class, you could cross-class even more things. Oh, I actually have some right here. Bloodbath, Foresight, this was a tank cooldown, yeah, on my Black Mage. Flash, Flash was Paladin's AoE, like, aggro getter. But yeah, I could also get Provoke. You could go into a 24-man raid on a Black Mage.
It's okay, Warriors are back to not needing healers again.
Provoke the boss.
Good.
There it is. Ring of Thorns. I still have it on my bar. I'm on Old Summoner, and there's Provoke. And there's Raging Strikes and Blood for Blood. And Protect. I got Protect. And back in the day, with healers, when you would zone into a dungeon, everybody would stand still and wait for you. Why? Well, because you needed to cast Protect on them, of course. I still have it on my bar. It's right here. And
I mean, if they just made it an AoE Protect, that'd be cool. Because like Protect is so integral to the Final Fantasy series, you know?
then in a raid, you would cast Stone Skin on everybody. This was like a shield. And then if you had a scholar in your group, you would make them cross-class Stone Skin so that they could help you put Protect on everybody. One of the biggest changes to tanks over the years was Tank Stance. Tank Stance used to reduce your damage taken and reduce your damage that you dealt. So Paladin had Shield Oath, and then they also had Sword Oath, and Sword Oath was their damage stance. But because Tank Stance would reduce your damage by 20%, it became standard where a raid group would just have their tanks never in Tank Stance. Because we couldn't lose 20% damage to that. We had DPS checks to make, man.
I honestly thought he was going to say we had to stand stance and like determine when and where we should be doing things. I didn't think he meant... I didn't think he meant that you just would never turn it on. Oh, no.
It was melee accessories, so they would go steal the Dragoon's accessories and put them on instead because they had strength. And a tank that was doing this, never in tank stance and strength accessories, would do about as much damage as another DPS. But yeah, we don't do that anymore. This was a fun one. Astrologian's cards used to be completely different. And by different, I mean each one of them was different. Balance was actually the only one that would be a damage buff. Everything else did different stuff, like a crit buff or a speed buff. And it was actually really fun to just give a melee the speed buff, because like a monk is already fast, right? So you give them the speed buff to go even faster, and then they would just run out of TP. They would just go so fast that they would run out of resource and they can't attack anymore. So then the astrologer...
I feel like healers have like the most troll mechanics. Like you can rescue someone, you can make them exhaust their TP gauge. That's so great. Usually pulled with tank stance and immediately swapped after 1 to 2 Gs. Okay, I got you.
Would extend the speed buff on them. And that's why Astrologian's pose looks like this, and they look all smug. Dungeons used to reward tomes differently than they do now. What they used to do was reward the tomes for each boss. But you know what people did? They would run this dungeon, specifically Brave Flox's hard mode. They would do the big pull all the way to the boss. They would lock all the mobs out of the boss arena. And then they would kill the boss and then leave. They wouldn't do the rest of the dungeon because that was more time efficient than just doing the full dungeon for the tomes.
So boring. Come on. Just play the game. It doesn't have to be efficient. That's so boring. Oh. Your static banned you from healing from mount farming? Show Fawn, why am I not surprised that you would troll if given the chance?
Square Enix
give Monk the arrow and be like, become his JoJo.
Didn't like that. And so they made it so all the endgame tomes have to come from the last boss instead. But yeah, this dungeon is what we did all the time for relic farming back in Realm Reborn. And actually, dungeons, we used to get 3 of them per patch. You know, they changed this because we've gotten all different types of content now, but they used to do 3 dungeons every single patch. That's why the list of Realm Reborn dungeons is so long.
It's
Look at it compared to Heavensward, they went down to 2 dungeons per patch. Stormblood, they went down to 2 or 1 dungeons per patch. And now this expansion, they've only done 1 dungeon per patch. And that is not a bad thing. It's because we get different types of content than just dungeons. Oh yeah, and in Dunscaith, you know this Proto-Ultima boss? This guy was not always there. When Dunscaith first came out, that was not there. It was actually a succubus boss. Anyway, I mean, there's still so much more I could talk about the history, but these are just some other ones I thought up in my head. But that'll be it for now. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.
Honestly, what a great freaking video. Oh, there he is. That's my boy. What a great video. I love these. He has more history videos too, so we'll probably check those out in the future. Wow. I actually felt like I was learning something from these videos, which is amazing.